Are you the protectors of this world?
Yes, we are.
Your planet is now marked for death.
For all variants!
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy, and this is everything you need to know before watching the Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, a lot of you have maybe not kept up with every single Marvel TV show and movie, so we're going to explain how the multiverse works in this universe and how this is all going to lead into Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, and also how it's going to lead into the X-Men entering the MCU.
Hang on to something.
And guys, it is a huge freaking deal that the Fantastic Four are finally entering this shared cinematic universe. So we're going to talk about why the Fantastic Four are so important and why, more than anything, I gotta see them cross over with Spider-Man. And remember to subscribe to our new Crossover Universe podcast on all podcast platforms, where we talk to movie producers, TV showrunners, authors, and actors. And also our Fantastic Four merch links are below. So let's start with Avengers Endgame, a movie that I'm going to assume that you guys have seen more than once. In that movie, the Avengers time travel, but it's revealed that each time they traveled back in time, they did not affect their own future. Instead, they created a branching timeline. Now, the most significant event to occur in that movie turned out to be when Loki escaped with the Tesseract. He is immediately captured by agents working for something called the Time Variance Authority. They're like time cops.
You broke your time twice! How did this happen?
Loki learns that the TVA are charged with protecting something called the Sacred Timeline, because if anybody steps off their chosen path, like he did, this will lead to a huge multiversal war that will, end all reality. The TVA then recruit Loki to help hunt down a variant of himself.
What's a variant?
Well, variants are versions of people from different universes. Loki then begins a friendship with a TVA agent named Mobius, who is a blind follower of the Timekeepers. They're the leaders of the TVA. Now, Mobius believes in ultimate order and a plan, while Loki believes in
chaos.
Nothing matters! Nothing has any consequence! Dance while you still can!
Mobius and the other TVA agents soon discover that they were once regular people whose universes were erased by the TVA along with their own memories.
And wherever I had a life before the TVA came along, maybe I had a jet ski.
I looked happy!
Loki joins the variant of himself, a woman named Sylvie, and then they fall in love just as they are pruned to a place called the Void at the end of time. And this is where the TVA sends all of the rogue Lokis and rejects from other universes.
Flame on! Sorry, what now?
And then they're promptly eaten by a giant cloud dog named Elias, who then erases them from existence. So Loki and Sylvie are able to enchant the cloud dog, and then they find a place at the end of time and space where they meet the true architect of the TVA, this guy.
Come on.
He is called He Who Remains, and he explains that once upon a time, he and his variants all discovered the multiverse.
He discovered that there were universes stacked on top of his own. At the same time, other versions of us were learning the same thing.
But this led to a huge multiversal war that threatened all of existence. He Who Remains won the war by weaponizing Elias and creating the TVA to make sure that none of his other variants ever existed. And it turns out that he actually manipulated Loki to arrive at this time and place so he could take his place on the throne and retire. But instead, Sylvie kills him, sending the multiverse into a massive explosion of other realities.
See you soon.
Afterwards, Loki gains the ability to time skip, and he can send himself to any time and place by leaping into his own body. And then he's forced to watch the TVA explode over and over because their multiversal loom can't handle all of these new excess universes. But then, with the help of a scientist named Ouroboros and a variant named Victor Timely, they try to save the loom thousands and thousands of times, but every time, all of Loki's new friends die. So, he makes the decision to sacrifice his own freedom. He takes the place of He Who Remains and turns all of the realities into a giant multiversal tree that he ties together with the power of story. Afterwards, the TVA no longer prunes timelines, they simply supervise them. But this ever-expanding multiverse causes more and more problems that will eventually destroy itself.
That's just morbid thinking.
あなたと一緒にジャスティスリーグを見るのは楽しかったよ。
ああ、私もそう思います。あのキャラクターたちのスクリーンでの最高のバージョンだと思います。
Hey, what are you guys doing?
私たちはやっています。
Sorry. There, I still had our VPN set to Japan.
Well, yeah, but why would you have a VPN change?
Oh man, using NordVPN to change your country is like getting a dozen streaming services for free. Like after watching Superman, I wanted to go back and watch the original Batman and the Justice League animated shows, but they weren't on Netflix, at least not in the United States, but I used NordVPN to change my country to Japan, and we could watch Justice League, Star Trek, tons of shows that I just couldn't get in the US. Oh, but also, it works great for Disney+. If you want to watch like more mature programming like The Bear or The Walking Dead, change your country to the United Kingdom and suddenly you have access to all of these more mature shows and movies. NordVPN is one of the first sponsors that we ever had on this channel, and it's also person, look out! Don't worry, buddy, that was just a pop-up ad, and NordVPN gets rid of those too. In fact, it's the only ad blocker that I use. But the best thing about NordVPN is the level of cybersecurity it provides. Like, you never know what kind of shady figures are out there watching you on the internet. NordVPN offers safe, secure P2P file sharing for large files, and best of all, they have a feature called Threat Protection. This detects harmful downloads before they even start. For instance, I tell this story a lot. A couple of years ago, I was pulling clips for a video and I went down a rabbit hole, and I ended up downloading a nasty Trojan virus to my laptop. It was so bad I had to do a factory reset. But if I would have been using NordVPN, then it would have caught that suspicious download before it even finished. You can add up to 10 devices on your account and use it on mobile, TV, or your desktop. And now NordVPN is offering a great deal through our link below. When you sign up with our link, you get a huge discount on a 2-year plan, plus 4 additional bonus months for free. That's at nordvpn.com/ScreenCrush. Now, back to what I was saying. So, after the multiverse is created, beings called the Watchers dedicate themselves to recording everything that happens in the multiverse. One of these Watchers, Uatu, is watching a universe where Ultron becomes a god, but then he slips up and lets the machine overhear him.
I see you.
Ultron then invades the multiverse, and the Watcher recruits a team of variants to help, and he calls them the Guardians of the Multiverse. Now, one of these Guardians is a version of Stephen Strange who tried to change something called an absolute point in time, which is basically an event in a universe that can never be altered. And because he tried to alter it, he ends up destroying his own reality. After the Guardians defeat Ultron, Strange then builds a multiversal forge, which he hopes will recreate his old universe. But instead, he ends up sending himself through the forge, so the new universe is then made up of him. Uatu interferes more and more until he's finally arrested by the Elder Watchers. After an incredibly boring fist fight, the Elder Watchers finally see his point of view, and they decide to guide the growth of the multiverse for good, with some light interference. I'm telling you all this because there is a chance that Uatu the Watcher will show up in Fantastic Four First Steps. Now, the main Marvel universe that we know is called Earth 616, otherwise known as the Sacred Timeline. And back in that world, Peter Parker is freaked out because now the world knows his secret identity. He asks Doctor Strange to create a memory-wiping spell, and Wong, who is the Sorcerer Supreme, warns him,
That spell travels the dark borders between known and unknown reality. It's too dangerous.
So the spell goes haywire and instead pulls in people from other universes who know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So this pulls in villains from all the past Spider-Man movies, which it turns out just took place in different universes. So we have Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, these other guys, they all enter the MCU. Peter Parker tries to cure them, the Green Goblin kills Aunt May, and then he gets some help from Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. Reality starts to rupture as more and more villains from other universes start to appear, and all of this is going to threaten reality. So Strange casts an emergency spell that will make everyone in this universe forget that Peter Parker even exists.
All right, that's really sad.
It is truly a tragic ending, yes. But in other universes, thousands of Spider-Men have teamed up to save the multiverse by preserving what's known as canon events. So these are events that occur in every single reality, and if they stop, that reality will be destroyed. Kind of like what happened to the universe of Strange Supreme. Now, do you remember Wanda Maximoff? Well, after the Vision died, she was mourning him and her reality-shaping powers spread out of control, and she rewrote the reality of a small town called Westview. In this new reality, she resurrects Vision and they have twin sons. This attracted the attention of a witch named Agatha Harkness, who then tried to steal Wanda's powers, but instead, Wanda defeats her and takes away her evil magic book called the Darkhold. Wanda collapses the false reality and erases her kids from existence.
Jeez, kids die in this phase?
Yeah, dude, it gets dark. But it turns out that Wanda is actually a being called the Scarlet Witch, who is doing the bidding of a chaos god called Chthon. So Chthon starts to manipulate her and she hears the voices of her children. So Wanda then uses Chthon's book, The Darkhold, to dreamwalk, posing as her variants in other realities. Also, she can get her kids back.
I just want my kids back.
But dreamwalking is very dangerous and destabilizes the multiverse. So Wanda is trying to steal the multiversal hopping power of a young woman named America Chavez. Now, when Strange tries to protect America, they end up in a universe that is controlled by a group of superheroes called the Illuminati. One of the variants in this universe is of Reed Richards, leader of the Fantastic Four. They tell Doctor Strange that his alternate self used the Darkhold to kill Thanos, but this caused an incursion.
An incursion occurs when the boundary between two universes erodes and they collide, destroying one or both entirely.
After his escape, Doctor Strange encounters his alternate self, who ended his reality also by using the Darkhold. A long story short, Zombie Strange gives a teenager a pep talk, Wanda has a change of heart, and then she destroys the Darkhold in every single reality. She disappears, taking the Scarlet Witch shrine with her, but in Deadpool and Wolverine, we did see that same shrine appear in the Void, which means that Wanda could be alive just walking around the Void at the end of time and space. Afterwards, Doctor Strange meets Clea, and the two of them head off to stop incursions. And guys, I am so excited to show you these new shirts that we just launched for our merch store. Now, we made these special for the movies that are coming out next month. First, check out the July 2025 shirt showing two rockets passing each other, the Fantastic Four and Kal-Els. And then we have Brian from Family Guy as Crypto, who's a good boy. And for the Fantastic Four, we have this parody of them on Abbey Road, but hey, where's Sue Storm at? And then we have the Fantastic Four as the Jetsons, celebrating the retro future aesthetic of the film, as well as Clobber in Time, Flame On, and this image of The Thing as John Carpenter's The Thing. And if you become a member, you can earn rewards and get free stuff. I just want to thank you guys so much for your support, and the links for those are below. Now, this ever-expanding multiverse also means that there are now thousands of variants of He Who Remains just out there running loose. The TVA mostly polices these variants while keeping their existence a secret. However, a rogue variant named Kang the Conqueror was exiled to the Quantum Realm, which is a multiversal gateway that the Avengers used to time travel back in Endgame. Kang befriended Janet Van Dyne, who was also trapped in the Quantum Realm at this time. Her? Well, remember, she was Hank Pym's wife, and they rescued her in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Years ago, she helped Kang rebuild his time ship so they could escape, and then she saw flashes of him destroying entire timelines. Now that she knows Kang is a monster, she wrecks his quantum drive and leads a rebellion against him for years until she was rescued.
And she just didn't tell anybody about this?
It was a very painful memory, and she did not tell anybody about this. But in the present day, Scott's daughter Cassie builds a radar for the Quantum Realm, which sends a beacon down to Kang, who then pulls in the Ant family into this little pocket reality. Kang threatens to kill Cassie unless Scott steals the quantum drive for him, which would then give Kang and his armies the ability to escape the Quantum Realm and take revenge on his variants and basically erase a bunch of universes from existence.
Alright, so Kang's like a real bad guy.
Well, he does explain to Janet that he actually wants to prune these realities in order to save the multiverse.
That's what conquerors do. They burn the broken world, and they make a new one.
But he doesn't get that chance. After ants break all of his telekinesis tech, Scott punches Kang right into the multiversal drive. Afterwards, an entire arena of Kang swear to stop the Avengers before they can challenge their rule of the multiverse.
They're beginning to touch the multiverse. And if we let them, they will take everything we've built.
But then again, in Loki Season 2, Mobius tells another TVA agent that all of this was basically just a footnote in a file.
I guess one of them caused a little bit of a ruckus on 616 adjacent realm, but they handled it, so we're all good for now.
So let's do a quick check-in with how things are going on Earth 616.
Not great, Bob!
So let's see, there's a new Captain America, the president turned into a Hulk, then got arrested, Daredevil retired, Kingpin became mayor, Daredevil unretired, and somewhere in there he also boned Bruce Banner's cousin She-Hulk, who also has Hulk powers. A new federal agency called Damage Control is hunting down anybody with powers, including a new hero in Jersey City named Ms. Marvel. It also turns out that Wanda Maximoff sent the spirits of her kids into new bodies, and one of them, Billy, is now a hero called Wiccan, who is teaming up with Agatha's ghost to find his lost brother. Let's see, a whole lot of shape-shifting aliens tried to evade Earth, but we don't really talk about that. The Guardians of the Galaxy made everybody cry, Peter Quill came back to Earth, and Captain Marvel had a big old team up with other heroes to stop the Kree from destroying Earth after Carol destroyed their big head leader. Oh, and then Ms. Marvel went off to form a new team, recruiting the new Hawkeye, Kate Bishop. And not soon after, a bunch of rejects and assassins went through a journey of personal growth and started to call themselves the New Avengers, Avengers, even though Sam Wilson already said that he was going to be the one to start the new Avengers. And that brings us to the last piece of the multiversal puzzle before we talk about the Fantastic Four. So remember how I said that those older Spider-Man movies are now part of the multiverse? Well, the same is true for all of the old X-Men movies. In fact, even X-Men the Animated Series takes place in another one of these alternate realities, as does a universe where Peter Parker was bitten by a spider early and had to attend a different school. Over in the X-Men movies, they have constantly been time traveling and branching off the multiverse. For instance, they sent Wolverine back in time from a dystopian future to change the past, creating a new timeline. And then there's Deadpool, who already seems to be aware that he exists in the multiverse.
This sacred timeline, I assume I'm going to marvel at how cinematic it feels.
Deadpool had to stop a time traveler named Cable from killing a kid, which also changed a possible future, creating another branch in time. But then, he used Cable's time machine to gallivant across the multiverse for a good time, killing Ryan Reynolds and even resurrecting his wife. And for some reason, after all of this, Wade wants to go in the 616 universe and join the Avengers, but then he's shut down.
Oh my God, you're standing.
Yeah, now's the time that we stand.
For some reason, this ends his marriage and then he leaves the life in tights behind. But then, Wade is arrested by TVA agents working for an administrator named Mr. Paradox. Paradox tells Wade that they need his help to serve a greater purpose in the multiverse, but his universe is going to die.
Or why?
Well, this gets kind of complicated, but about like 10 or 20 years after this, Logan dies defending some of the last few mutants on Earth. Paradox reveals that Logan's death is actually the death of what's called an anchor being.
Your anchor being died in an act of self-sacrifice so epic that it sent shivers down the timeline.
Now, it is Paradox's job to watch over Wade's universe as it slowly dies over 1,000 years. But instead, he wants to rush things ahead with something called a Time Ripper. So Wade rebels and then gallivants to the multiverse to find a new Wolverine to help him. The two of them get pruned to the void where they recruit other rejected Marvel variants who would have fought a little bit too hard to save their universes. We have Elektra, Blade, Gambit, and a variant of the Human Torch.
Avengers! Flame on! Sorry, what now?
Wade and Wolverine save his universe, and they even get a new Wolverine, which stabilizes their reality. But there are two other universes that I want to talk about. In the trailers for Fantastic Four First Steps, we see Reed designing a multiversal wormhole to fight Galactus. Now, this could lead him to other universes that have faced Galactus in the past. For instance, the Fantastic Four universe from the Tim Story films. That's the franchise where Chris Evans played the Human Torch, which, ended up not ending well for him. And then there's also the grim, dark Fant Four-Stick movie starring Miles Teller that was less than fantastic.
Say that again?
Now, it's actually a huge deal that the Fantastic Four are going to be introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, except technically they're not. This movie takes place in yet another alternate reality, one where Reed Richards was born a little earlier and then created a kind of 60s retro futurism. But this is core to the team's roots. Jack Kirby and Stan Lee created the team back in 1961, and they actually began the Marvel Age of Comics that is still going on today. So it was a big deal for Marvel when they got the film rights back for the team, so then they could add them into their interconnected universe. So at the end of the new Avengers film, we saw the Fantastic Four's rocket arriving at Earth 616, and we know that the team will also appear in Avengers Doomsday. Now, Marvel is looking to wrap up their big multiverse saga soon, with Robert Downey Jr. returning to play Dr. Doom, and it's likely that the Fantastic Four will then be incorporated into the main 616 universe, so they'll be ready for the explosion of mutants to enter this universe for its new phase, the Mutant Saga. So guys, that's everything you should know before you see Fantastic Four First Steps. I am so excited about this movie, but are you excited? What do you think the best part of the Multiverse Saga was, and what do you think the worst part of the Multiverse Saga was? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, or at me on Twitter, Blue Sky Threads, or on our free-to-join Discord server. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.